Hey y'all, this is Sarah, and this is going to be a long one because there's a lot of elements that I want to share. There's a lot of details that I want to share that I think are possible for the average person once you see how they're done. So if you haven't already seen my New Year's spread, I discussed the fact that I'm going to be using stencils for all of January. But I'm not going to use the stencils necessarily in the way that they come out. I want to add to it. I want to expand on it. Excuse me. And make it a little extra. This is a Dollar Tree stencil. I love this stencil. I like the curves. I use them for other things. I use the elements. If you haven't watched the New Year's video, you'll see that I use all of these curves, all of these things just to help straighten and clean up my lines. This is kind of what we're working towards, and I've got a lot of examples here. I don't know which ones I'm going to toss in, but you can see that I have used these in lots of ways. And I want to share some of that. I want to share some of those details and how to get there, because I think once you see and you're watching and you're like, oh my gosh, that was so simple. Why did I not think of that before? So you can see where I've mixed all the elements. So I'm hoping to jump ahead, get all these videos up. So if you want to mix all the different elements, you can. I'm going to put this to the side because it's super heavy. You can see I've got a couple of spreads ahead already using the same various elements. One of the things that I'm going to keep consistent is the greenery this time around. And I think that will help this whole month stay kind of similar. I don't typically do that. I usually switch off. For me, I just go with whatever I'm feeling at that time or whatever has me inspired. But this month I've kind of kept somewhat of a theme. And I want to share how to get some of these elements because I think they can be used for other months as well. So this is the one I'm doing. I've already marked off some things. I'm going to go ahead, jump in, mark off my tracking area because I've added some things for this year that I want to keep track of and I want to do a better job at. That's kind of my resolution. And I'm going to go ahead and add those things now because I want to make sure I've got room for all the things that I want to doodle in. So I'm going to go ahead and fill out this bottom section and the way that I want to use it. I'm pretty sure that I may, over my weekend area, add a little extra. So I may not put as much of my tracker across. I may make it look like it's overlapping. I don't know for sure because I'm winging this. I have my ideas. I have my examples, but I also have a creative brain that doesn't know where it's going to go at any given point. So let me go ahead and start putting my tracker stuff in. Okay, so here's where I'm at. If you notice, I kind of stopped right here. I'm sure I will find room to put the information there, but I'm just going to squeeze it in because I want to overlap my decorations a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and bring in this stencil, and we're using this image here, this jar. So I'm going to drop it down right about there. And if you're curious, this is my favorite Dollar Tree doodle pen. These come in an 8-pack at Dollar Tree. I don't know if you can see. I really like the fact that the lines are pretty similar. The ink that it lays down is pretty similar to the print that's on my grid here. It's a pretty similar width. So I only did that part. Can you see? I just did this basic bottom part. Now, I'm going to come up here where this handle is. Actually, let me go ahead and decide where this other one's going to go. So I think I'm going to move it up a little bit. This part's all personal. Put them wherever you want to put them. This is just where I'm doing it. So I'm going to come here, pull it in a little bit like that. Let's get a little closer. There we go. Maybe that's a little easier to see. So I'm just going to take this, kind of center it up along the edge of that mug. Now, if you did not have this stencil, I'm going to tell you, this is nothing more than a rectangle that has been rounded off on the edges. And this is nothing more than a partial circle. This just speeds up the process. Don't be afraid to use your stencils in other ways. Get creative with them. Look, guys, I just made a mistake there. It's okay. I'm not going to freak out about it. I'm not going to ruin anything with this. I promise. So that's usually where I start. Likely, there's going to be one over here. I don't want to get too identical to this one. But similar concept. I move them around. If you want to get really fun, I'm doing mittens and mugs again because I want to show both of them. Even though I already did it on the previous spread, they're going to get more detailed as I go into January. We're going to get a little further into that, like the tier tray and stuff. But if you want a mitten, let's see. I'm going to go ahead and throw one of these down here. There we go. I'm not really sure which way I want my handle to be, but I think likely I will go this direction. So far, so good. Super simple. This is cute all on its own. If you wanted to turn it just into a mug, come up here with your little curve of your pot there. And just draw a line, and it's just a mug without anything in it. I'm probably going to make mine look like they've got whipped cream or something in them. But let's talk about the mittens. So I'm going to scoot that up just a little bit. I better draw my toppings first. Let's draw some toppings first. This is where the freehand time comes in. A little loop there. There. Do the same thing again, except for a little further in. And I'm going to swing up. And then swing back around. That was simple enough. No big deal. You can take that as far as you want to. But I want to kind of focus on these other items first. So, I don't know. I maybe need to come up a little higher. I'm going to overlap this a little bit. Can you see? Let's get that in the center. This is probably not the best example, but I traced out the little oven mitt all the way. I didn't do the bottom of it because here's why. Let me grab a pencil to show you in case you need to do it this way. Come down with your little oven mitt and mark yourself a little spot so you kind of know where your fur is going to be or where your trim is going to be. Can you see that? I just marked it out like that. I'm going to take my pen now and let's get a hair closer. Okay. So literally all I'm going to do is flick. And I just curve those flicks around. And there you start getting a little fuzzy. You can see. Show you that one. Got a little fuzzy. There's another example. So I'm going to leave it at that. come back over here. You guys know I move around a lot. Let's come back over here and try to put some toppings on these. So again, this time it's almost like a backward S, maybe. And I'm gonna just swoop around to that edge. It's not gonna be perfect, but we're gonna add enough other stuff to it. I'm just playing with this as I go. Did you see? I just did a couple of curved lines upwards. And you guys can see that I have shakiness. I don't get super crisp. Even if you have shaky hands, don't think that you can't draw. See, nothing perfect. These can be really fun if you want, there's enough space there that you can write things in. So you really can add them everywhere, because I'm going to show you. I use some fairly large handwriting right there on that particular mug and had room to write some things in. So that's a fun way to just be able to put some things in your spaces and fill it up and still have a place to write. You could always write into your mugs. So let's talk about adding to this. Let's get some details in here. So I'm coming in, if you can see, I'm coming in with this fork looking one because it has the most even handle right here. The rest of these dip in a little far. They kind of curve inwards. So I'm going to take the fork right here, and let's start on this one. I'm going to put it part of the way up, just right up until it starts to taper itself a little bit. I'm going to start right there. Oops. There we go. Another mistake. See, it's okay though. Don't panic. It's not going to hurt anything. It'll be fine at the end. Right here, right at this top where this edge kind of sweeps over, curl around a little bit, just like that. Come from this other corner of it, curl around a little bit. Find you a straight edge. I'm just going to use this stencil as my straight edge. Line up right about there and draw a line. Same thing on the other little curl that we did there. And we've kind of got some cinnamon. And when I go to color this in, if you watch me color it in, you'll see how that kind of turns to a cinnamon stick look. So this side, I don't know, let's do a straw. I'm just taking a straight edge and put a little space over. Maybe you can see through that. I'll make a little space. So I've got just two parallel lines, as tall and as long as you want them to be. And kind of an oval, close enough for me. I'm just going to come to the edge, swoop down a little. Now, seeing these as basic drawings, they're okay. It's when we start adding the color, and that's why my videos are long, because I want to share all the things. Adding the color makes a difference. Coloring it in makes a difference. So that's your basic for both of those. Let's get some detail in. I'm going to come over here with my mitten and see this little curvy bottom. This is how I use these more than anything. The curves, the edges, the rounded off corners, those are all very helpful to me. So I'm going to bring it up probably right about there. Swoop down. And I'm personally just going to slide down here. And now my mitten has a little bit of detail. Now, I can do this all over the place. I'm trying to think this far ahead to see where I know I need things. So, for one, I know Tuesday is always garbage day. I'm going to find a fun way to put in my garbage day. Just because, I don't know, I wanted another element on this page. So doing the same thing. Let's take it a step further because I didn't add this to the other one. I am taking the rolling pin and let me get you centered here. Sorry, guys. Overlaying it right about there. Can you see where that's at? Now, I don't mind crossing over into my dates. I don't have a lot of busy things, but I do have a bad memory, so I do have to jot things in my planner. I don't have quite the busy schedule that everybody else does, but I do find it necessary to have somewhere that I write things down. So here's what I'm tracing out. Here's the element parts I'm tracing out. Anything that sticks out from behind there. Now, this is what you're going to notice. I mean, honestly, this is how the actual tracing would come out. Now, I'm going to come in this little element right here. I'm going to use it to fill in that little space. That little gap right there. And I think, for me, I'm going to go ahead and do a little swoop on that side. Just like that. Obviously, you want to fill in here. I'm going to go ahead. Let's add some details. I just did some squiggly things there. I just had a conversation with someone earlier that said they can't draw because their hands are shaky. Mine honestly are too, especially getting in certain positions. But that works to your benefit, especially with the details. So there is no rhyme or reason to this. There's some little jagged lines there. There's some little something there. That works. If you got shaky hands, this is the time. My style works around the fact that I do have shaky hands. So I threw a little of the same element under there. I think that's enough spots. If you want to, do the same thing to the bottom of your cup. Can you see that? Just a little shakiness. Do it around the bottom of your handles here. Can you see those lines are just, I'm just tapping the pen down and letting my hand be awkward and wiggle. Oops, sorry. Trying to make sure y'all can see. Just a few squiggly lines, a few dots. Same thing over here. Just right around the base of it. Especially since I'm leaving these cups white, basically. There you go, a few extra elements. Now this is where we're getting extra. Now this is where we're getting the details. Anybody can follow a stencil. Whoops, I hit the click. There we go. Now, I don't know, maybe I want a rolling pin on both sides. Should we do a rolling pin on both sides? I think there's room. Let's do it. Why not? Be super extra. I'm just trying to figure out where I want it. Oh, you know, if I do it to this side, because it's a decent little square space right here. If I do it to this side, I can always jot inside of my rolling pin to write down something and have it kind of stand out. So I think I may do that. Let's do it. Who's stopping us? I am aligning that bottom part as a cheat. I'm just aligning it with my grid line. And you'll see this is why I like these pens, because they match up really well. Same thing, but I'm going to do it the opposite side. And that side of it, you don't even have to do. We're going to flip this over, and I'm going to do the same thing I just did on that other one. Come up against that edge again. Close off my handle. And I did a little wonky. Look at all them crooked lines. And that's okay. Look, it turned out fine. Don't freak out. A little jaggedy something. Look, just the little squigglies. That's all. A few little squigglies. And I think I'm going to do this little extra line here again. And maybe come down here where these two meet and do a few squigglies just to make it work together. But now I have this space. I did spread a little ink there, but now I have the space where if I wanted to, I could, ooh, look, we have a Friday the 13th. Look, I come right there and write Friday the 13th. I am not scared of Friday the 13th, by the way. I never have been. I don't know why. It doesn't spook me. I know it spooks some people. Let's go ahead and turn this cup into just a cup. And you can see kind of that version. So I'm bringing the pot. You could use any of the curved edges. You could honestly use just the cup or just the jar that we used to make the cup and line it up right there. So let's do it that way since I already got it lined up good. Now, see where that little line is? I'm going to slide that up there against the line I just did. And do another one. Ta-da! We have just an empty cup. I can always add straws or something to that. Speaking of which, let's go ahead and add some, let's add a straw. I may add some cinnamon as well, but definitely a straw because it brings a little more color up there when I do the straw. See, you can see where my hands get shaky, guys. Look, that is not perfect. Don't worry, at the end, it'll look fine. That straw is a little crazy, but I'm not sweating it. Throw a few dots up there. Maybe that'll distract from it. So here is where my basic setup is. Okay, now that I'm looking at it, even though this is not really long enough to show on that cup, I'm going to extend it. I think I need a little something right here. You don't have to do this part. I'm making it a hair longer than what it should be. So I'm going to come out and kind of pop a handle, the edge of this handle out this side. No big deal. I just felt like it needed something else there. Okay, this is where I'm at this point. Let's start adding some color. We've got some details on here. We've got a good starting point, I think. Let's start putting some color down so you can kind of see how I color on things or how I mark on things. I'm using some generic, you guys know these are like generic versions of mild liners. This one they call a twin liner. They're pretty close to this same color blue. If you look, there's a hair difference in the colors. That's not even necessary. I just wanted to show it does not matter what brand it is. Like, seriously. I thought I'd mix them so you could see it's not about branding. And I'm trying to remember, one of them's a little lighter than the other. So I'm going to go with the lighter one. There's a little color on my straw. I'm going to move on this side. Put a little color on my straw. Guys, I don't color within the lines. If I get out of the lines, I'm cool with it. Don't freak out. It'll look fine. So maybe I will do a little, let's go ahead and do the mitt. I try not to overlap too much. See right there when you have those ink spots, when it's wet. That's the place that you're most likely to bleed. Now, that did okay. But try not to hesitate. Try to make your movements determined. So that wasn't super. I leave a lot of white space in there as I'm doing it, if you notice. And that partially is what adds to kind of that watercolor look. I get asked a lot if I'm using watercolors. I don't. It's just I'm not coloring in fully. If you notice, this top edge right there still has white. I didn't get all the way up to the edge. That's where that watercolor look starts to come in. And I'm just going to use the same one. I'll give this time to dry, and then I'll come back in with other color. So let's whip over here, because that's how I work. That's how I'm able to put so much color on a page, is that I move around like this. I'm going to pull some other colors over here. You don't have to follow my color scheme. This is just an idea. So I'm coming in with something brown. Obviously, I'm picking the wrong ones. This is kind of a reddish brown. This number 46. I will go ahead and I'm going to start right here at the base of this, because that's where it would likely be darker. And then it comes up to being lighter. I don't understand that full concept, guys, of lighting and things. So I did not even fill that in very well. That's fine. I'm going to come in with somewhat of a lighter color and work that in. And it just spread that out. And we'll come back in again and add a little bit more layer to that so it gets a little darker. While I'm waiting for that to go, my straws. Getting some dimension on my straws. So I'm going to take a straight edge and go towards whatever the bottom kind of looks like to the straw. This would kind of be the bottom side with it leaning that way. Oh, let me try this other side. I'm going to use the skinnier one since the straw's not very wide. And just do a line down it. And I should have stuck with the other edge. I hit right on that line. I didn't go any further over. I better wait on that one. I don't want to oversaturate. Let's do it on this one. So that bottom section of that straw, I went all the way down. Let's get a little closer. I just went all the way down. Across the white, across the blue, I went all the way down. In that, oops, I have done misplaced my lid. Guys, this is a super pet peeve to me when the lid won't stay. I don't know. I like the balance of having my lid on the end. While that is drying, if you've got a white pen, doesn't even have to be a white pen. It can be a white pencil. Dollar Tree has these things. It says metallic, but it's not. It's just plain white. They have those things. I have a preference to the Uniball Signo. I've also recently tried Mr. Pen has a really cheap set of white pens. I would put them maybe not toe-to-toe with my Uniball Signo, but I would definitely put them toe-to-toe if you're familiar with the Sakura Jelly Rolls. They go toe-to-toe with those for sure. They actually work really well. It's just, I like the thickness of these. I don't know. It's just a personal preference. But something lighter. White crayon, white pen, white pencil. Just something a little lighter. And now we're going to go to the top side of that. And just do the top side. I'm going to switch over to this other one. Do the same thing. And while I've got my white pen out, I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing to my cinnamon. Just add a little white up at the top. Remember, I'm going to come back in with the cinnamon and add a little more color, but that was a dark color. I want to give it some time to dry. Now, let's get into some other details. I think there's been enough time, still coming in with the same blue. I think there's been enough time for this mitten that I can add some darker color. So just along this edge, even up to there, I'm just going to come down. I didn't even do that great. However, that really adds to the watercolor look. I would do a little up here where those two sections meet. Maybe a little line there. Just a little color. It doesn't have to be perfect. You'll see at the end, it comes out really well. This is something, I'm not going to brag on any markers or tell you to go out and rush out and have to have certain markers. But some grays are really handy. Light shades of grays. These are some off-brands. I love these for shading. I've got a lot of neutrals that I really like to play with. Let's see. I'm going to pull a couple over. There are some neutrals that I absolutely love. And these are Zayar ones. You can see. But I have some generic versions in similar colors. See, look, these don't even have a name on them. I have some generic versions in similar colors, but if you're looking, Zayar has some really, really light colors. I think they call them Haint. Haint really a color. So I like them in the neutrals. See, these are several different brands of just neutrals. All of these I think are generics. I don't even know that they have names. They're all generics. I'm going to come in with some of these generics, and you'll see why I love these, because they're so faint. And just put a little color in there. Super simple. Love these these pale colors. Same thing on this side with the rolling pin. And look, I don't even try to get all the way up to the lines. There's still some white space. Don't worry about that. It blends in. And I think you would see a little color right about there, if that was completely filled in. That's close enough though. Oh, I forgot a spot. There we go, just a little bit. I think that section, I don't know, I feel like I want something there. I'm just going to come in and do a few more of my little squiggly dotted lines right in this area. And I'm going to leave this section white, this section here. I'm leaving it white just because I want to be able to write in it, to be honest. This is it's a purple gray. I don't know if you can see. Like I said, it's a very faint color. It's a purpley gray kind of color. I'm going to use it to come in and shadow under a couple of things. So this is going to start popping off the page a little. And like I said, I don't understand the study of shadow and light. And you can see how faint this really is. I don't get the whole study of light and this angle and that angle, not really. I mean, I try to use some practical application there and think about it. What would be likely? Obviously, shadows usually fall under things. So that's what I'm doing. It's very subtle, but you don't realize what an impact it makes when you're glancing at these, and especially in person. it kind of makes them pop off the page. So just a little bit. Under the bottom of everything. And I just outlined that whole section. I just went all the way across it. Now, this one is a green gray. They all have gray undertones. This whole set has some gray undertones to them. So that's what I use for my cups. I'm not really going to fill in my cups. Actually, I think I may use this on the whipped cream. Just a little bit. Just follow a little of those lines. It's the illusion. Our brain kind of fills in the rest of the idea. Now, you could do inside of your cups with the same. This is that purple gray again. I just came down part of the way. So I did it on the opposite side, but on the inside of my cup. So right at the edge, I just kind of tapered that down. Can you see? It's really subtle. I think I want to put it on the handle. It's very subtle. I just tapered it in on the one side. These are the details that really start to make things look like something. Same here. Actually, I think I'm going to do it on this side. And then maybe put a little shadow between the cup and the rolling pin. That seems kind of right. So now we're starting to see it turns into something. I'm going to bring a brown in. Whatever brown. Whatever one you plan on using. I'm going to bring it in for my empty cup here. And I'm not going to color this in good. I'm just going to kind of drag it across here. And it's going to give that cup the illusion, maybe that there's some of the fancy coffee designs in there. And look, I got out of line. It's okay. It didn't ruin anything. So let's pop outwards a little bit and see where we stand. Now that I'm to this point, I think it's a good time to start adding my filler details, my extra little things, all my little other doodads. And I'm not even sure which ones I'm going to add, but I did kind of want to share the berries because it came from the design that was at the bottom of this, the leopard print. You can see that started out as leopard print. And when I altered these for this layout, I thought those were kind of some cute accessories. You can do whatever color you want to in the same way. So I'm grabbing some circles. It's got a bunch of little circle sizes. And I'm going to be using a variety of those sizes, I think. That's how I did the other one. So I'm going to keep that element kind of the same. Maybe up through here. I'm going to make them pop out here. And I think, you know what? Let's try it. I want to try it. Let's see how well I can cover these up. I did not have a plan for this one. I did it because these patterns rotate out with tropical and whatever. I covered it there. I don't necessarily want to do the same thing here. But let's see if I can cover this in some way. The color should work out. Kind of close. Look, I'm going to start with a decent size berry and just alter their size. And I'm just going right over it. I'm not going to try to white it out. I don't do a lot of whiting out things on my page. Like, I do all my doodles over the grid lines and things. I don't try to white any of that out. I think after a while it just blends in. So I'm going to try to get along that edge. And then maybe swap some sizes. I'm going a size down. And overlapping a little bit. I don't even know where this is going. It's hard to tell the lines crossing like that. Let's get a little closer. Okay, maybe you can kind of see here. I don't know how well this is going to work. I have not tried it this way. I don't get a lot of test run on doing some of these because I only have one planner to test run it in. So I'm just switching out all the sizes. Hopefully I'll get it overlapped pretty good. If not, I can fill in with a little greenery maybe. We're seeing what we can do. Let's get a few little ones in there. Ooh, these are getting really tiny now. It's almost hard to get my pen tip in those. And I'm just dragging them all the way out. That looks kind of crazy. Hopefully when I color that in, I might have to add another one or two. But let's get a little creative here. I'm going to bring in my one little blue marker that I've been using. Y'all, please ignore the fact that my neighbor's dogs are losing their minds. Sorry, they're still losing their minds and my dog's losing her minds. I'm using the same blue that I had, and I'm not going to fill these in all that great. A few lines here and there. There's white spots left in these. Hopefully I'll get there. We are finding out together. So maybe I'll get it all hidden and not noticeable. I need to give that a second to dry. So while I'm letting it dry, I might come in and do a few stems. Maybe over some of these leaves. And I still might have to add something. I don't think it's going to be all that noticeable once it's all colored in. To be honest with you, if you look at it, it's already starting to be less noticeable that there were tropical leaves on my January. Florida people might enjoy that. If you're taking a vacation this time of year, it might work out for you. So while those are drying, let's go ahead and add a few more in some other spots. I'm doing this to bring in more of the blue accent on here, but you don't have to. Let's see. I think I want to go maybe kind of swoop down a little bit. Maybe drag this down a hair. So on the other ones, I used like the green pine needles, I guess. The evergreen, whatever you want to call those. And I still may add some of that into here to keep the greenery as a repetitive theme in my January. So maybe a few little ones. I'm overlapping a couple of them. And if it hadn't been for the fact that I was trying to cover what they'd already printed in, I don't even know if I would have tried doing these. So I don't know. Let's see. I feel like it needs a little something more. So I've got a few of them. I might put some stems in. And yes, I'm going into the circle some. That way it looks like it's actually connected. Don't sweat it too much. The details work themselves out. So I feel like that's a pretty good start there. I might want one more little, I don't know, I feel like it doesn't come down far enough right there. Told you I was winging it. A real artist I am not. This is the whole point of me sharing is to try to show you how to fake looking like one. So close enough for me. I'm going to come in and do the same thing. Take that blue. And I'm not coloring in any kind of good. I'm just randomly. The small ones I don't even have to do much to. And you see there's some white still left in those. But they already are picking up that kind of watercolor look. And I'm going to darken it and you'll see. Let's go back over to the other one. In that amount of time, it's had enough time to dry where I can mess with it a little more. So now I can overlap a few more times and get a slightly darker shade in some places. And it's almost hard to do because it's got this chisel tip and it's so wide. However, that adds to that watercolor look that I'm trying to replicate there. So, same thing to go back to this one. While I'm waiting for those to dry, let's go ahead and add a little bit of pine needle to this. And I think maybe I'll do it right here. I'm just going to drag a line across and flick it like that. Maybe two if you want to. Flick one down to there. Those are so crooked. And I'm just going to flick up. And flick up. Or down, I guess. And you can make these as heavy. Like you can make them really full looking. The more you flick. Since I'm filling in with some color, I can do it either way. Might make it a little fuller right here where it meets up to this grouping. Super simple coloring on those. Any kind of green that you like. Like I said, I'm not real particular about what markers I'm actually using. I think I'm going to use this one. This Java mild color one. And literally I'm just going down kind of the center section. And just putting a little color in there. Now, if you want to, I'm going to take this a little further. And I'm using the fine tip. You could do this probably with a dark green gel pen if you had one. I don't have a dark green. Most of my gel pens have glitter in them. And I'm just going to flick this slightly darker color down through there. Just to give it a little extra fluff and some depth in color. This is one of those ones where if you've got an unsteady hand, it probably works to your benefit. So now I've got some matching greenery that it kind of relates to the other ones that I've done. I might want to try to slip some in on this side as well, but I'm going to wait until I finish those berries. And none of this really takes this long when I'm actually doing it and I'm not jibber jabbering all the way through. I usually can, once I have an idea down, I can get through this probably just as quick as anybody's throwing down stickers. So I'm back over here, back on this side. All it takes is that little bit of extra time for your color to sit there and dry, and you can continue to add as much color on your page. So I just threw some more in there. While I'm at it, I might come and add a little more shading down that side. I'm going to come through these berries. And the more that you do this and allow that to dry in there, the darker and different shades that you're going to get in that. And then it looks like you did something fancy. But you didn't. Not really. So maybe at the base of some of these berries, you might go a little darker. Let's get into some other things. I might add my greenery Let's do it right off of here. I know I want some green on this side. I just don't know where I want to put it. So I think I'm going to stick it out of my cup. Not that you'd want to drink this. It's just for looks. And before I fill that in, the brown that I used already, whatever brown you use for your cinnamon stick, might be a good time to just come in and do one little swoop down like that. I kind of did like a check mark. I don't know if you saw that. I went down that edge and up that bottom. And now that cinnamon stick looks like it has a lot of depth, but I feel like it's a little blank up here. And this is why I always have inky fingers, because I'll use my fingers to blend that ink or to tap on it. If it's sitting on that paper too long and you can see the little puddle, I'll tap on it and soak it up with my fingers so it doesn't end up soaking back through my page. So now that that's there, I can go ahead and put my green in, because I'm not going to overlap on that very much. I'm bringing in that same Java. I think these are highlighters. I don't know. It says mild colors. I guess these would be classified as highlighter. I did the same thing. I just put a little color down that center, and then I'll add the dark. Oops, wrong end. I'll just add the dark flicks into it. And I try to keep them pretty much the same direction, but you can see all that depth of color kind of showing up in there. So right here, this is why I don't like to edit, because there are things that can be helpful. Right here, I managed to smudge my ink right in that little area, if you can see. So to distract from that, I just put a few of the little flicks there. Same thing over here. I've got a little smudge of ink. A few little flicks there. Now you got some details. It looks like you did something. I might do it on this one, because it seems like I did that everywhere on that section of the cup. So I might throw some there. I might even darken this line a little, so this edge looks a little more something. So now we're starting to get somewhere. Now we're starting to see some details. On my berries, I'm bringing in, this is a gray color. However, as a gray color, when I swatched it, I noticed that it's almost a cornflower blue. That grayish blue. I don't know what you'd call it, but it is supposed to be a gray. It just ended up being a darker looking blue, if you see that. I did right along the edge of that cup where that might be darker. And I'm going to do a few dots. Not even, I don't know. Wherever they land, that's where they're going. Mostly along what would likely be the bottom of those berries. Let's see if I can round that out a little. There we go. Let's come over here to these and do the same thing. Oh yeah, this color, just adding that slight darker, really hides those leaves that were under there. I'm not even really paying attention. I'm just getting some color in those circles. Doesn't matter where. Don't focus too much on, am I shadowing the right way? Am I going the right direction? Don't panic. At the end, I think it always works out. I might even do that. I might even take this really dark color to bring in more of this darker color, because when it mixes with the blue that I already have, it really starts to look almost identical to this color that's in the center of my planner. Yeah, I think that works. Maybe a little bit right along this edge. And that's what I'm talking about. There was a little pool of ink there that I just kind of smudged off before it soaks through. So a little bit there on that straw. That really brings that color kind of super similar to this center section. I'm starting to kind of like it. Now I want to add a little more depth. This is where the layers come in and the moving all around. I'm coming back in with my little tan color. Oops, wrong end. This is my same tan color that I used on this already. And you get 50 million shades out of it if you want to, if you give it time to dry in between using it each time. So maybe something along that edge. Now it's a little darker. Maybe just this bottom part of that. I got out of lines. It's okay. Maybe a little up there. There we go. You can watch that again. I'm not super particular about this part. It's just adding those extra layer of colors that start giving it that watercolor look, I think. So I added a few little nudges there. Get playful with it. Don't take it too seriously. Once I stopped taking it seriously, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to ruin it, I started having a lot more fun with it. Now, if I could just take the rest of life that way. So, I think I can come in and start adding some highlights, maybe. I'm pretty content with the color that my winter berries, that's what we're going to call them. If you want to take these winter berries a little further, right? Just, oh, right about there, I'm going to come in and do like this little star pattern almost. And do a little circle in it. Can you see that? Maybe even, I've got here, this is a good way to see how I fix errors and mistakes. Okay, right here. If you can't stand it and you're out of the line on your berries, I just drew a little something there. And a little something there. You don't have to even do this part. I think the berries are cute just as little circles. But if you wanted to take them up a little, somewhere along those edges, throw a little something like that in there. It's all about the details. It's always all about the details, and it's things that you don't think about adding. So you can kind of see. One of the things I want to point out is when you're using your markers on your paper, the result you're getting right then is still going to be a little bit different than when they start to dry and it starts to blend and you get like that final dry state. You kind of notice that the markers soften, the colors soften, lines that you may have seen right as you were coloring it in start to blend into the areas around it. And let's see where we stand, because this is always the question that I get. It's always, how bad is the bleed through? So I just flipped. You guys saw me working on the page. This is the page after this page. After this page. So what else can we add? Let's throw some things on here. Bring back your circle. Maybe we'll throw some berries on here. Which one might take a berry? I don't know. Maybe this one needs a berry up here. Maybe not one that big. Just some kind of, I'm going to bring it in a little. So it's just randomly out there. I might even throw in the little doodads. Maybe a little thing there in the center. And I think I'll make this one this same blue scheme. The other one I put a cherry on just to throw a little red in there, just a little pop of color. So that one I'll do the same thing. I'll give it a little time to dry, work my way around. so that I can come back and add a little more depth right there, right along wherever it touches something else. That's usually where I add the most color. Anywhere that something touches something else, I always assume that there's going to be some kind of darker shadow there. Look how cute we're getting. So let's add another mitten or two, because this is all about the mugs and mittens. And I wanted to show you guys getting the details on some mittens as well. So I think I'm going to make these things kind of just dangle down somewhere in my weekend. And I'm going to follow the same, kind of the same method. Oops, I did not want to go that far across. It's okay. That's why I like showing my mistakes. I'm not going to panic over this one. I'm supposed to be just doing the bottom, this section of the mitten, and leaving the bottom open. I did not. It's okay. And I'm going to stagger this one up here a little. I got to leave some room for the fluff. Can't forget the fluff. So you can tell my hands are not steady, because even with a stencil, I struggle. So here's a little example. I accidentally messed up right there, but that's okay. I'm going to come across this thumb line and just kind of do a little letter J. Almost like that little mitten dips in. Let's add some fluff. Let me pencil that in so I can follow myself. So I don't know, that's probably about 1/4 of an inch worth of fluff that I've given myself. It doesn't have to be 1/4 of an inch. You put as much fluff as you find necessary. So now that I've got that penciled in, I can come in and do those little flickety lines. Let's see. I need to go back and erase the pencil mark around my fluffity lines. I didn't do a great job at this one. Let's see if I can flip this upside down and improve that. It just depends on what angle I'm at sometimes. That's okay. I'm going to live with this fluff. Let's add the other fluff. See? I don't give a fluff. I'm letting it do. I'm actually going to try to fluff that out right around where they meet up. Okay, now how you decorate your mittens is up to you, but I did want to show this really cute addition. So I'm going to take my blue, whatever color you want to do this with, and I'm just going to come to the edge of my mittens, put a little dot there so I know where my starting point is, and droop down something like that. And I got them super uneven, and I don't care. And drag down a little something like that. Drag down a little something like that. Don't worry, we're going to improve that. We'll droop down again. Like it's just little hanging ribbons. Now those look fine like they are, but let's go ahead and outline them, because this helped me a lot, is getting the outline around them. If I tried to draw that first and get those lines so close together, there's no way I could do that as an outline first. I don't know why. I can do it once the marker's down. So I'm going to cross these in some spots. Can you see that? So now it looks like the ribbon's a little looped around. Basically, you just come down and go up the opposite side when you come back up. But see, if I tried to draw two lines like this close together without the marker there, there's no way I could do it. I'm just outlining what's there. How cute are those little ribbons? So I'm just swooping down around them. I don't know, can we get a little closer? Yeah, we can. So I came down, met them there, swooped up. And it's almost like they cross over each other, I guess. And now you got some cute little ribbons dangling down. I could always do a little string up. Like they're connected. Maybe do another ribbon up here. Let's do that. I don't know. Seems fun. There we go. I'm telling you, if I tried to do these lines this close together just by themselves, I don't think I could. Okay, so now our mittens are tied together. You can decorate these however you want. I will tell you, here is one of my cheats and one of my favorite things to do. I have this little stencil. It's not very big. I don't know. It's about the size of a note card or something. This is one of my favorite stencils to use, to be honest. You can do it with any circles. This just makes it easier for me. I told you, if I can find a shortcut, I'm gonna. So I'm not putting as much pressure when I go in these little circles. My lines are a little more faint. So I can have some polka dotted mittens. I actually think I'm going to make my mittens mismatched. I might throw a few more polka dots on here. My mittens are going to be mismatched. I don't care. They'll be mismatched. But it's a pretty easy way to, if you don't want to fill in with a lot of color, it's a pretty easy way to add some color to something. Just put polka dots on it. I'm a big fan of polka dots though. Now I want you to look. With this chisel tip, I could always use this other end, but I still wouldn't get in the lines good. There you go. We're completely offset. Isn't that cute? I love polka dots. I love anything with polka dots. I'm going to do the same thing on this other one. And just draw some lines across it that I can fill in. I might draw some snowflakes on it or something. Let's make a big space there. So one of the other things that I did on my mittens, just to give them a little more detail, a little more depth, aside from kind of adding the curve for the thumb, is I came in at the thumb part. Because if you ever look at the tips of your gloves, there's always some kind of where the seams meet. So I threw a little X in those. I don't want to forget this little guy over here. Oops, I clicked it again. So I threw in like a kind of a curved X. You could always come in. Which one do I want to show it on? You can always come in and let's start right about there and add a seam up here. How cute is that? You know, where it might be stitched. So add a little seam to them. I might do that on the other side. If you don't feel like you can outline that very good, look, cheat. Come in, slide your mitten stencil right back in that space. And follow it again. Throw a few lines across there. It's all about the little details. There you go. Now they look like stitched mittens, I guess. Perhaps now would be a good time to erase my lines so I don't forget. And now we have some fluff. I'm going to take my fluff with this greenish, this cream color. These are called cream colors, by the way, the ZR ones. It's their cream color collection. This is that greenish gray. I can see the undertones in colors. So I just did a little swoop right around that white fluff. And maybe I'll go on this side and do a little swoop right around that white fluff. I'll bring it over here. Whoops. I've got a big mess going on my desk now. I'm going to bring it over here and maybe do it on this white fluff if I can fit it in there. There we go. A little bit. So I paused for a bit and forgot to turn the camera back on as I started back. The only thing you miss is I colored in this glove, or this mitten, and added a scratchy little snowflake. And I think my snowflake probably needs a little bit more detail. I think I'm just going to add some dots on it, maybe. Just a little more. So I can come back on my ribbons now if you want to, and just darken one loop or half of each loop. Just pick a loop and darken it. I think I'm going to come over here now and start adding a little greenery in. I've got this one. I'm pretty satisfied, honestly, with how well that covered that up. I've got a spot there. I really feel like I could add a little greenery, but I think I want to add some right here because I want to span this across. I don't think it'll come too much into this. I don't know. Let's find out. I'm going to try to swoop one that far over. We're going to try. I think that works. Maybe. We'll find out. I'm probably not going to, this is already long, I'm probably not going to finish out this whole spread with you because I'll go in and add my boxes that I like to add. And I just use squares. I use something that's square to make my boxes because it's easy. I just trace out something square. If you already are a sticker user, you can always integrate your stickers. I just don't have a lot of sticker boxes. I don't have a lot of Happy Planner stickers. I think I have a couple of generic Dollar Tree versions. And they don't really have any of the blocks in them. So I just draw my own on there. Yeah, I definitely like adding the greenery there. And as a matter of fact, I might add a little one there. I just swoop that up. Half of what I do is an afterthought of, oh, let me try this now. This is how I learn though. Mistakes and all. I am not a natural born artist. I don't think I am. I watch my youngest son, and I do think he is. I can watch him whip out an entire human body form in like 2 minutes. I personally could not do that. But from what I understand, my grandmother was that way as well. I'm just not. So I learned methods to make it look like I am. And you can kind of see how this is coming together as a scene, even as afterthoughts. Start looking at it and seeing, now that you know the elements, you can repeat the elements. I could go in now and add some of, if you saw my New Year's video, I can add some of the dried oranges. And see, I don't think that takes too much into here, but it certainly brings this across the page. I love those little mittens. Aren't they cute? But I could go in and add maybe some of the oranges. I think, though, I might add some things coming up out of my mittens. Let's see. I'll add a little greenery coming up out of it. Oh, maybe in some of the berries. Let's do that. It's all the same steps, but just doing it at a different scale. Doing it at a different location. So there's some greenery. Where's my little circles? Let's add some berries. I kind of dig these berries. I've done some berry pages, if you've seen them. These are a little different. They're usually, my berries have all been floating out on their own. But as a little branch of berries, they're kind of cute. Like a little sprig. I'm trying to use all the sizes, but good gracious, it is hard to get in those little bitty ones. Let's overlap a few. I think that works. It looks like bubbles. Do a few little flicks to make it seem like it's all one little piece. And you guys know, just a little bit of ink in there. It doesn't have to be perfect. Leave the white spot. And that's really my style, I guess, if you want to call it, that I've got my own style at this. Really revolves around the fact that I knew I couldn't get perfection, and I started working with what my deficits were. So I can't color in a line very well. I certainly can't color in a circle very well, but I use that now as part of really kind of its own element. I might come in here and I'm just going to outline my little snowflake on there. Throw a little color there. You could throw a little color there if you wanted to on your little X. Look how cute those are. The berries, these up here definitely need a little more color. Oh, I think I want more cinnamon though. I think I want more cinnamon sticks. I like the brown in there. I don't know. I like neutrals. I like a lot of color too, but I like the neutrals this time of year. So this is where it gets fun. I can wedge any of these things in. Look, I'm going to come over here. Do my little outline there. Try to get those curls in. And throw some lines down there, and we got us a cinnamon stick. And I think it'll bring that brown color to this side of the page too. The scrapbooker in me always wants to go for evenness, but I can't always accomplish that because sometimes I need the spaces that I really want to add more color to. Where's that lighter color? Whatever lighter color, it doesn't... This is almost a yellow color. Just something lighter. So I'm going to leave it like that for a second. Yeah, I think I like bringing that brown over here, and I almost want to bring a little more greenery over with it. So let's do that. This is how you build start building up on it, and it really looks like you did something. I mean, I'm just repeating the same things over and over, but then it starts to look like a scene. You're starting to get an idea, an image. So a little ink on there. I don't know about you guys, but I think it's kind of cute. I'm probably going to pause here in a second and add my squares. I don't think that y'all need a lot of instructions on drawing a square, but I have a few that I know I want to add. A few filler things. Since I didn't come down as far over here as I thought I might, I can go ahead and finish this line and get it on there. And as a matter of fact, let me do that in front of you so you can see what I'm going to do. I made sure that I tried to stop as close to this grid line as I could, so that if you notice, when you touch your marker down and you lift your marker up, it always leaves something a little different, a little bit of a different mark there. So I'm hoping that doing it this way will make them blend well together. I'm going to try to start right back there and then come to this end. And I think that's kind of fun. I left a little gap there where it looks a little more intentional. Cute. Look how cute those are. I don't know what I'm going to put on these mugs. My handwriting is not the best. I really got to work for it. And I can do it in notebooks well. I mean, okay. I can do it in notebooks okay, because they have lines. And I struggle on here because even if I draw in the lines, I have a hard time. Like, everybody asks me about the bleeding through on my page. That's not really my issue. It's getting pencil lines to erase. Even if I use them really, really lightly, I can still see the shadow of where they were. So it's hard for me to pencil in lines to get good, even handwriting. Look how cute these are. I think I need to add a little more color to the berries up here. You guys saw the drill. Doesn't matter where I put it, just a little bit of that darker color. Look at the difference that makes. If it had not been for the leopard print on here, I don't know if I would have even added those as an element. But I'm glad that it kind of inspired me. I still think I need some green up here. I want you to see, though. You would be very hard-pressed to notice that there is a bunch of tropical leaves under there. But I think I can add a little something. Let's add a little greenery. I'll make the mistakes for you guys so you can see whether or not you can pull it off. Might be a mistake adding this in with it. We'll find out. We'll find out together. Okay, so far not too bad. Went a little wild with this one. It got a little wide on me. So I threw a little ink on there. Look how, I don't know, I think I like it. Now, I showed this thing on the January one that I did. And I am considering whether or not I want to do it on my greenery here and the berries here, because I thought it might be fun. But I'm going to show you really quick. I added snow to all my greenery. If you haven't seen this video, I added snow. And all it takes is a little bit of whiteout. I actually used the Dollar Tree correction pen. They just changed these. Do you see how much I've had to squeeze on this thing, though, to get it to work? So I might add maybe a little bit of that snow on these edges. Or even on my berries, I would add something like that. It would be cute. I also could go in and everywhere that I know that I plan on writing things, could add more mugs to write in, because they are a decent size for jotting smaller planned things. So I might still do that. I know I'm going to do something to acknowledge the fact that it's Friday the 13th here. I'm pretty sure I'm going to do something there. But now all I got to do, I could continue to elaborate. I could take this way further. But now I just really want to add some squares in. Something. You don't have to own as many stencils as I do. I'm telling you guys, I was a scrapbooker before this. I was a paper crafter for the last 20 years. So I have a lot of supplies. I thought that would be fun. When I do the squares like this, I do want to point out one thing that I tend to do. When I add my squares, this is supposed to be for a king-size bed. I got to tell you, it works perfect. I don't know, this is for furniture. It came with some of my pens. But the king-size one, I'm working on the big planner is what I'm using. This king-size one works really well. I'm just trying to line it up there. I tend to cheat where it says king size and it has the numbers. I kind of use that to help line it up on my grids. Or the writing around it, I use that to help line it up evenly along my grids so that I don't have lopsided boxes everywhere. But I want to show you a little something that just adds an extra element. See, I didn't even do a good job there. Gray marker, whatever gray marker you like to use. I literally keep a couple of gray markers with my drawing pens because I always use them for some kind of shadow. So here's a really easy shadow. Literally, I'm starting a little ways in and I'm ending a little ways away. Can you see that? You could always go all the way around if you wanted to this side or whatever, but to me, this is just a simplistic way to make that just not look like a box drawn on my page. I just did it with this one. I don't come all the way to the ends of either one of them. That just, it makes it easier for me, for one. I feel like I lost some of my details on my rolling pin here. So look, I just did a real jaggedy line, and I'll show you again. Okay, got super close. Look how jaggedy that line was. I meant for it to be smoother, but that one's jaggedy too. Let's see if we can get them all that way. There we go. Let's go ahead and hit this one over here. Maybe throw a few more dotted things in there. I might even throw a few dots up here. Can you see that? I'm just tapping the ink on there. And just up one side, I'm not going to go all the way up. But that adds a little detail. You might do it on this one. You might do it on all of them. Might not do it on any of them. But we get so focused on whether or not we're getting it right. Just try it. Let's see if I can work this cinnamon stick out a little better. Now, this is kind of the time I come in and play with my white pens because I love them. I could do it on, let's throw some ideas out here of why I think it's worth investing in one of the white pens. So I've got this one here that's just solid, this mitten. I'm going to make it polka dotted because I told y'all I love polka dots. It's a good way if you've got some gaps that you're really not liking, but I keep those white gaps in my coloring. I keep them there. I'm trying to space these out as even as I can. Look how cute that polka dotted mitten is. So now it gave it a little bit difference from this other mitten. Another idea that you can do with this is add maybe some white berries to your greenery somewhere. I don't know which one I want to add it to. I think maybe this little one up here. So I'm just going to make it look like it's got some little white berries somewhere in those pine needles. Like that. It's just one more detail to add. I don't know. Maybe a little white spot there on my knot to my bow. Maybe on this berry that's sitting up here at the top. I feel like this berry still needs a little more color. I might do it on these berries over here. And now you can see it's almost, if you weren't looking, if you didn't know that that print underneath there was there, you really wouldn't have a clue. I might take this opportunity to just drag a white line all the way down the side of my mitt. I don't know why, because I felt like it. So a white line down my cinnamon stick. Okay, so I feel like maybe I gave you some ideas. That's a lot of different artwork, if you will. We'll call it that. We'll pretend it's real art. That's a lot of different artwork that you can incorporate into one spread or several spreads over your month. That you can still get some different things. You can take it a lot of different ways. You can see I did a smaller version of the berries here. Maybe you can see. But once I go to fill in the rest of this, I'm pretty content with where I stand. I might come in and do a few extra things. If I do, I'll try to point them out. At this point, I can go in and label my cups if I want to do, you know, the ones like this. You can leave them white. As a matter of fact, you could do really cute and go in and I'm going to bring my polka dot cheater. You don't have to have this polka dot cheater. You could just sit there and draw your circles. I'm going to turn this cup polka dot. Why not? I told you I have a thing for the polka dots. Maybe even along the rim. See, that's cute. Same thing, watch. These circles are not going to be filled in perfectly. I'm doing the best I can to get a square tip and a small round. Look at that, polka dots. I love polka dots. So I find this pretty cute. I think I'm going to stop things here. Maybe I gave you enough information to get you started. I might even droop some berries, like integrate some berries just kind of coming down from up here. I don't like to cover my numbers because part of this is to be able to see at a glance. But usually I'll come somewhere around it or in between it. I may still do that. You might see that detail. Just know that it's the same berries. I'm just adding them there at the top. But I hope you liked it. I think it's pretty cute, personally. Although my opinion is probably biased. I think it's cute because I didn't know that I could do any kind of drawing before this. Before I got started with all these things. I was unaware that I could draw at all. Every time I try to draw a straight line, it turns out terrible. And then sometimes, some of the ones I'm going to show, I can't help you cheat with a stencil, but I can at least help you figure out ways to get there if you're unsteady like I am and you don't have great accuracy. If you hang out with me for a while, I'll show you styles that kind of work around those deficits, maybe those artistic deficits, and even physical ones. So now is where I go in and add the details. I might add a little more shadows around some things. But this is it. I hope you like it and will hang out with me more, because they get more complex for the rest of this month. I know they're long, but there are skills that I like to show, and mistakes I like to show, and things I like to show that I think are just as important as the resulting image, the steps to get to it, the things that I add, the squiggly lines, the fixing a mistake. I think those things are important to learn, especially when you're just getting started, because I tried to watch a handful of videos to learn from, and it was very much they start and you see a piece of paper and a couple markers, and then they snap their fingers, and then there's the artwork. And it's intimidating. It intimidated me. So hopefully this takes some of the intimidation out, and you can find a comfort zone to at least try some of these things with me, especially if you're a Dollar Tree person, because I'm going to try to find some more of their stencils to play with. I love this one, and it has so many uses. The curves are so helpful. But that's all. I plan on hanging out with you guys soon. I'm going to finish this, add my boxes, put a little personal stuff there, hopefully get my handwriting right, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye, y'all.